Hey everybody out there, this is Seto Kaiba from your Yu-Gi-Oh! Chat channel, and today for you guys, I'm going to be profiling my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. I've been playing the Blue Eyes White Dragon deck ever since the structure deck of Blue Eyes White Dragon came out. I think it was back in September of last year. It was one of my favorite decks to play with last format, and it is one of my favorite decks to play with this format. It's just a really cool deck to play with. Some of my friends have referred to this deck as a Blue Eyes OTK or FTK deck. Some of my other friends have referred to this deck as a Seto Kaiba deck because the fact that Blue Eyes consistently gets on the board very fast and very quickly most of the time. And you wouldn't be surprised in some points of the duel you're going to have one or two or even three Blue Eyes White Dragons out on the field at one time. And it just feels so cool when you have all three Blue Eyes White Dragons out there on the field. But this deck is a consistent build of Blue Eyes White Dragon. It gets Blue Eyes White Dragon out there, and it's a very fun deck to play. So without further ado, guys, I will go through my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck for you guys, and I'll explain all my card choices too. So let's get started. So guys, in the deck we have three Blue Eyes White Dragons in the deck. I've had these three Blue Eyes White Dragons for over a decade. I got these three Blue Eyes White Dragons when I heard about Yu-Gi-Oh! From my friends and everything. I went to Toys R Us, and I bought three of the original Kaiba starter decks, and I got these three Blue Eyes White Dragons because Blue Eyes White Dragon was my favorite monster even back then, and he is still my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And also because I love Seto Kaiba. He was my man even back then. I loved Seto Kaiba in the show, and that's why I got these three Blue Eyes so I could be just like Seto Kaiba when I was little, like when I was about 11 or 12 years old. And so I've had these guys for over a decade now, and I'm just so happy I get to use these guys in a good deck now. But these are my original Blue Eyes White Dragons, so I love them. They're my babies. So next up, I run three Maiden with the Eyes of Blue, and Maiden with the Eyes of Blue is your main, I guess you could say, effect monster in the deck. It's one of the main decks that makes this deck work. If it wasn't for Maiden with the Eyes of Blue, this deck would not be as good. Maiden with the Eyes of Blue is a level 1 tuner, so you can synchro up with it after she gets her effect off for Silver Eyes Dragon. Also, she can get Blue Eyes out from your hand, deck, or grave. So she's very good, and she has a lot of other combo pieces. And also, she reminds me of the, if you remember the Blue Eyes Maiden from the TV show, that's what she represents. So next up, we have three Masked Dragons. I was originally running two Masked Dragons, but I found three to be much, much better. Masked Dragon helps search out things like Delta Flyer, which is your main tuner in the deck, and it also helps you search out things like the White Stone of Legend, as well as Rider of the Storm. So Masked Dragon comes in handy. Masked Dragon, it's a good first turn play. You can set Masked Dragon. If they destroy it, if they destroy it, you can get Delta Flyer out, and if you have another monster in hand you want to synchro up with, you can do that. If you get two Masked Dragons in hand, you let one of them die, and then you get Delta Flyer out from deck. If they're not going to attack again, you normal summon the other Masked Dragon. You can synchro up for any monster you wish. It just comes in handy in a whole bunch of different situations. Next up, I run two Delta Flyer. It's the main tuner of the deck for synchroing monsters beside Azure the Silver Dragon, but it can help you synchro up for level 6s, 7s, and 8s. He comes in handy a lot. Next up, I run two Alexander Dragon. I was originally running dragons like Lance Worm and Blizzard Dragon when I first made this deck, but I found that just being a 2000 vanilla monster worked a lot better, so I just ran two Alexander Dragons. He's a level 4, so you can synchro up or exceed with him. And also, he's a light attribute, you have to remember. So, I have won games because since he's a light attribute, I can use Honest. And I've literally had people attack me, or I'm attacking them, and they'll be like, what the heck are you doing? And I'll drop Honest, and I'll win the game that way. So, he has won me games before because he's just a light attribute. Next up, I run two Shining Angel. I was originally just running one Shining Angel, but I found a whole bunch of combinations in the deck that could really work with Shining Angel, so I run two Shining Angel now. Shining Angel's main purpose is to get Maiden with the Eyes of Blue out of the deck. Once you get Maiden with the Eyes of Blue out of the deck, you can use things like Wonder Wand if you want to draw, and a whole bunch of other things. If Shining Angel is dead in hand, if you have another level 4 on the field, you can just Exceed, or you can use him for synchroing up with Delta Flyer. There's a whole bunch of things Shining Angel can do, but his main purpose is to search out Maiden with the Eyes of Blue. So he does that job very well. Next up, I run 2 White Stone of Legend. I really don't run 3 White Stone of Legend because I've always found out that I've only need 2 White Stone of Legend in deck. Instead of running 3, I ran 1 Rider of the Storm because he comes in handy. White Stone of Legend works well with another card which I'll explain later on, but I'll just show you right now, which is Dragon Shrine. And one of my favorite plays is you go Dragon Shrine, you drop Blue Eyes to the graveyard, and then you drop White Stone of Legend to the graveyard and add another Blue Eyes to your hand because White Stone Legend, when it hits the graveyard, you can add 1 to hand. So that's why White Stone Legend comes in handy. Plus, if you have Blue Eyes on the field, you can synchro up for Azure the Silver Dragon. Next up, we run 1 Red MD. I've actually seen Blue Eyes players not even run Red MD, and I'm just like, why would you not run Red MD? It's like so good in this deck. It's good in any generic Dragon deck, but Red MD works very well in this deck to get Blue Eyes back from your hand and grave. Next up, we run Honest because our boss monster, Blue Eyes White Dragon, is a light attribute monster, and plus he just works well with a whole bunch of cards, even things like Alexander Dragon, which I said earlier. Next, we run 1 Rider of the Storm instead of running another Legend of Blue Eyes egg. So I run 1 Rider of the Storm. It's a level 1 tuner, just like the Stone of Legend. The White Stone of Legend. And also, its effect comes in handy because I can equip it to either Blue Eyes White Dragon if I want to, or I can equip it to Alexander Dragon. And lastly, the last monster I run is 1 Darkstorm Dragon. If I have a dead Fiendish Chain on field, I can use its effect. So I can, because it's a Gemini monster. So once it hits the grave, if it hits the grave, it becomes a normal monster. So I can use things like Silver Cry and everything. I can even use Dragon Shrine with it. But also, like I was just saying a little bit earlier, if I want to bring him back and I have a dead trap card on the field like Fiendish Chain, I can use his effect and he becomes Heavy Storm. But he comes in handy also because he's a 27 beater and he's another trade-in target. So one of the best spells in this deck, I have to say, it's one of the main spells that works with this deck. And if you want to build a Red Eyes deck, this is one of the best cards in the deck to use, and that is Silver's Cry. Silver's Cry is Monster Reborn for the deck, and you also have to keep in mind it is a quick play spell. So there has been times when I have a Blue Eyes engrave, I'll just take Silver Cry, I'll set it down, face down, and I've had people go, they'll blind MST a card, and they'll hit my Silver's Cry, I'll chain it, and I'll get a Blue Eyes back from my grave for free. And they wasted an MST. So Silver Cry works that well because you have to remember it's a quick play spell. Next up, I run 2 Dragon Shrine. I was thinking of running 3, but every time I run 3, it gets a little bit cloggy, so 2 is just good enough. The main plays you want to go with Dragon Shrine is, when you activate Dragon Shrine, you want to send Blue Eyes to grave first, then you want to send the White Stone of Legend to grave, so you can add Blue Eyes to hand. If you have a trade-in in hand, you can just go off. This card thins your deck out by 3 cards, because if you're doing it the Blue Eyes, then White Stone of Legend, you're making your dead draws less likely to happen because you're sending just your big Blue Eyes White Dragon to the grave. You always want your Blue Eyes White Dragons either in your grave or your hand. You don't want to dead draw them, believe me. So that's where Dragon Shrine comes in handy. And it's a good combination card with trade-in here, because if you have trade-in in hand and you go Dragon Shrine, you send 1 Blue Eyes to the grave, you send White Stone of Legend to the grave, then you add a Blue Eyes to your hand, you go trade-in, and then you draw 2 more cards by sending Blue Eyes to the grave. So it works very well with that combination. 2 trade-in, we have 4 targets for trade-in, 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons, and 1 1 Dust Storm Dragon. So you have 4 targets for trade-in. Comes very good, and it combos well, like I said earlier, with Dragon Shrine. Instead of running Cards of Consents, which I believe is the card that you send 1 tuner from your hand to the grave and you draw 2 cards, I use Wonder Wand. All the tuners in the deck are very intricate and very important to the deck. So Wonder Wand comes in handy because if you have, it's been a very good comeback card too, but Wonder Wand comes in handy with Blue Eyes Maiden. So if you have Blue Eyes Maiden on the field, sometimes people will attack your Blue Eyes White Maiden. And if they're attacking Maiden, they have an out to Blue Eyes White Dragon. You know that. So sometimes it is best to have Blue Eyes Maiden out in the field, activate Wonder Wand, and draw 2 cards and get a Blue Eyes on the field. It's also a good comeback card. If you have Blue Eyes Maiden in hand and this card in hand, or you draw into this card, or Blue Eyes White Maiden for that matter, it's a good comeback card because you can have Maiden on field, you pop Maiden, you get Blue Eyes on the field, and you're drawing 2 cards. It's literally helped me come back from duels that I thought I was going to lose. So it's a good comeback card in that respect. It's also a good combination with Shining Angel as well. 2 Forbidden Lance. If you want to run MST, go right ahead. I feel that MST works best in the side deck for this duel, even though I do not have my side deck ready right now. But 2 Forbidden Lance because you have a lot of big beat stick monsters. My 2 one-of spell cards, Dark Hole and Book of Moon. 2 generic good spell cards. For traps, we have 2 Fiendish Chain, just 2 good trap cards, and we have 2 Mirror Force, just some good trap cards here, people. Thanks to the TCG ban list, I have 1 compulsory evacuation device and 1 bottomless trap hole, and that rounds out the main deck. For the extra deck, I won 1 number 107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. I don't know if you guys can see that right there, but that's Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon, and it's a ghost rare. I also run for a level 8. I run 1 Heretic Sun Dragon Overlord of the Heliopolis. You can run, Thunder End Dragon, or what's that new level 8 monster? I can't remember off the top of my head, but it came out in the last series of cards that came out. But you can, there's other cards you can use, but Thunder End Dragon, people have suggested to me, but the reason why I don't run Thunder End Dragon is because if I have Thunder End Dragon is a Dark Hole card. If you overlay 2 level 8s and you Dark Hole the field, the problem is with that. Usually, if I have 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons on the field, I'm going to win the game. I'm already in a game mode and my opponent's on the run. It's no use to just Dark Hole the field. For my other cards, I won 1 Queen Dragon's Daijin, very very good card. I also won 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Maestroke, and 1 Black Ship. So Abyss Dweller, Maestroke, Black Ship. I also ran for my level 3s Fortune Tune and number 17 Leviathan Dragon. For my synchros, for my level 9s, I run 2 Azure Eye Silver Dragon. Very good card. It's the main card of the deck. For my level 8s, I run Scrap Dragon, Crimson Blader comes in handy, and Stardust Dragon. And lastly, I run Gaia the Force of Earth and Exploder Dragon Wing, which is a good card that you should look into if you're playing with the Blue Eyes deck. So you guys, I hope you guys all enjoyed my Blue Eyes White deck profile. There was one thing I forgot to mention in the deck. It is a 40 card deck, and it works very well. But also there was one combination that I have used as of late that I forgot to show you in this deck profile. And that is the combination with Shining Angel and Honest. So a good combination is if your opponent's not going to attack you, for the rest of the turn, and you have Shining Angel on the field, and it destroys Shining Angel, you can get Honest to the field, and then you can bounce Honest back to hand, and you have Honest in your hand. It's just another little combination that the deck can do, and it's a very fun combination that I forgot to mention in the video. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a very fun video. I really like the deck, like I've said before, and it's a very fun deck to play. Until next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see you guys next time. Seto Kaiba, I'm out of here, guys.